Today I'm going to be making a 5x7 card using the Daisy May design stamps. Also for my card I'm going to be using a stencil from My Favorite Things that's called Clouds. I have a pad of Post-it note paper, some ink pads in light blue, Whisper White, Sahara Sand. I also have ink refills for the blue, the Sahara Sand, and the Stampin' Up! Whisper White. I'll be using some glycerin. You can get this at any pharmacy, Walmart, your grocery store. You'll need a blending tool. I'm using a Color Blocks blender, or you can use daubers or whatever blending tool you have, a sponge, whatever is comfortable for you to use. You can mix your glycerin and your inks on a block, an acrylic block, or on a glass mat. Anything that you can clean up and change colors to mix your colors. I'll also be coloring my project today with various watercolor markers, and I'll be using a watercolor brush. Okay, so let's get started and I'll show you how I made the background with the clouds. Okay, I have a piece of paper here for a 5x7 card. And first off, what I'm going to do is take a piece of my Post-it note, and I'm going to put it about a third of the way down. Let's see if I can get it straight here. Okay. And this protects the bottom of my paper until I'm ready to put the ocean and the sand on there. So I'm going to start with a drop of the blue, just a drop, and then I'm going to add a drop of white. Now this is pigment ink, and it does not dry as quickly as the watercolor ink. So I'm just going to do a drop of that, and then I'm going to do a drop of the glycerin. So just a drop, one little drop. Okay, and then you take your blending tool, and I'll use the dauber since most of you have a dauber, and I'm going to pick up the glycerin, tap it onto the tip of the sponge. Then I'm going to take the blue and the white and then kind of mix it all around. And then because I don't want it to be too dark, since we're doing clouds, I want to leave most of the ink on my acrylic mixing block. Okay, so I'm going to take my stencil and lay it across the top of my paper, and I'm going to blend in a circular motion. So just over the edge of my stencil, like that. Then I'm going to move the stencil and I'm going to blend some more, and then move it again. Okay, it doesn't look like much, I know, but we're getting there. So I'll move the stencil and go again. Let's move it over here. Keep moving it around till you make some clouds that you're happy with. Okay, so let's fix this one so it comes down to the horizon line a little bit. And maybe we'll put another one up here in the corner, just a little bit. Then you're going to take your dauber and you're just going to kind of lightly go all across the sky, including the clouds. Okay, so there you have the clouds are made. And then you're going to want to clean your stencil and before you put it away. Then I am going to take I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to move it to the top and cover what I have just covered, the clouds that I made. Doesn't look very straight. Let me get this straight here. Well, I'm not having a very, let's do this. Let's move it down to where I want the horizon line. And then I'm going to turn it over and cover the clouds. That's probably too long. Just bear with me here. It's really not this difficult. There we go. I'm going to take another one and I'm going to put it just making a line in the paper. Okay, so then I'm going to take my dauber and I'm going to ink it up, and we want this to be a little bit darker, so I'm not going to take off so much. And then I'm just going to spread it across the paper, and this is going to make our horizon line. Okay, then we'll take those off. And there we have a horizon line. Okay, then just to smooth out the ocean a bit, I'm going to switch to my other blending tool, and I'm just going to go back and forth with the tool very lightly. You can see that it blends very smooth. It's really light, and I'm just going to blend that down about another third of the way or so, a little over that. There we go. Trying to keep my fingerprints off of it there. Okay, and then for the bottom, I'm going to try to make some sand at the bottom to look like the beach. So I'm going to clean off my block, the paper towel, and then I'm going to add a drop of the Sahara sand. It's a very light, it's not even really a brown color, it's kind of a brown gray. And I'm going to add another drop of the white. And another drop of the glycerin. Okay, and then I'm going to blend all of those together. And once again, I'm going to leave a lot of the color on my block because I want it to be very light at the bottom. And so I'm just going to go back and forth across the bottom of the paper where I want to make my sand. And it's ever so light because your focal point is going to be your foreground, your boats and your seagull and your sign. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a sandy. It's not very pronounced. Your clouds are, but your sand is not very pronounced on the paper. And you might use a piece of scratch paper to keep your fingerprints from getting in the glycerin until it can dry. Okay, so that's basically how you make the background. If you're not happy with your clouds or you're not happy with your water or your sand, just flip the card over and start again. Okay, but this cardstock is very smooth. It's very easy to work with. You can get a lot of ink, so if you like the look that you're getting or the project that you're doing, cut a bunch of pieces of paper and use up all of your ink while you've got it blended. Okay, so that's all we're going to do in the way of blending. And let's set this aside. And I want to clean my mat so that I don't get any ink on the back of my paper. I'm just going to clean this off very quickly. And then I'll show you how I colored with the watercolor pencils for these pieces. By the way, if you do not have a pad of the sticky note paper, you can just use regular copy paper, cut it in half, put it down on your project, tape it right at the sides so it doesn't move, and then you can do your blending. Okay? All right, so setting that aside and showing you what I have here in the way of, this might show up better if I put it on a piece of paper so that you can see them. So you can see that I have colored them. I've used various watercolor pens, and so I'll show you how I did this to blend them together. These are just water and the ink, and so I've got some birds and boats and buoys here. Okay, and we've got a little crab. Okay, so I'll show you how I blended these inks. Let's do red because it's always a difficult color. It seems to get away from me sometimes, but I just outlined the buoy. Then I took my watercolor pen and just made a few strokes over it so that it's not so stark white where I'm making my highlight. So you want to go around and do each section that way. And you can leave your brush open. They don't dry out that quickly. Okay, so that's how I did the red, and the same with the larger buoy. Just go around the edges. I wouldn't color in a circular fashion. I would just make strokes. Okay, and then for the little crab, him kind of bright. Or what you can do is you can do what I call brush to ink coloring. And then all your whole project looks like you've watercolored it, which you have if you do this technique. And then because these were cut out with a little bit of a border, and you don't want it to really show on your background, what you can do is take some of the blue ink. Let's see, I think I have a pen for that particular light blue. But take some of the blue ink, let's see, let's just mix it here. Put a drop of the blue ink, a drop of the white. Again, this ink goes a long way. So you only have to mix it once. If you have 2 blocks, that's great. If you have a big area like this, that's great too. I'm going to take my little blender. Now you're not going to be able to see it here on here, but the color is there. I'm going to pick it up with my brush and I'm going to put it around the border. And that way when I put it on my project, it won't be as noticeable. It's kind of hard to cut around these tiny little things. And now in this case I should have put the sand color on there, but I'm just showing you how you can color that in so that it's less noticeable. We can probably do it with the little buoy that's on the post. So just take some of the ink and color in. I don't know if you can see this. It makes just a tiny bit of difference. See there? And so that when you put it on your project, it looks like the ocean is showing behind it. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The finished project looks like this. So I hope you enjoy using this particular method of blending your ink. It makes them go on very, very smooth, and I think you'll really be happy with that. So enjoy.